He has more than 27 years of experience in the field of indirect taxes with exposure of government, consultancy, and industries like auto and pharma. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here, sir. Over to you, sir.
Thanks, Pawan, for those introduction, and thanks for all the participants who have joined me today for this session. So, GST is now that it's already completed 8 years in existence, and still people are having troubles around the registration. So we thought that maybe that we will touch upon this particular topic now before hitting January, wherein that because many of the participants are showing interest that we need to cover the various sectors like ACZ, UOU, etc. And I think that I am seeing a lot many people are interested in ACZ procedures and all that. Maybe that we can take it up that issue, provided no other interesting topics come up. Because February month anyway that we will be covering the budget. So where I don't think that there will be many changes as regards to GST, but on customs front that there will be many. So let us wait and watch. I don't want to disclose anything at this point of a time because it is a secret thing. And coming to the topic for today, that it is a GST registration, why we have to do it, and what kinds of registrations are available, and what is the process, and how we have to close down the registration and exit from the GST ecosystem. These are the things that we wanted to cover. But this is going to be a bird's eye view, as pointed out by Pawan also, because that in depth, if you want to go into the details, then we need more time. So, depending on your interest, definitely that we can spare that time also in the coming days. So, the topic is organized like this, that what is the need for registration, why we have to register. So whenever a law is promulgated, it details the purpose and the rules. Registration acts as an affirmation that a person intends to abide by these legal rules. So when you are registering with somebody, you are showing interest that you want to be in that in that framework. So once you have decided that you are going to be in that framework, then what it happens? What are the implications? So without registration, a person cannot aspire to claim any benefits under the law. Thus, adherence to the game rules via registration becomes a mandatory condition to utilize the law effectively. So, in order to be there in that ecosystem and to reap benefits out of it, that you need to express your interest that you want to be there with it. So, that is what is the registration process. So, if that is such a simple thing, then why at all that there is so much of a complexity around it? That we will come to know in the coming slides. Next slide, please. Pawan, please flip the next slide. Yeah. So what are the different categories? GST system accommodates diverse business structures through specialized registration types, each designed for a specific operational need and compliance requirements. There is something called normal taxpayer. Who is a normal taxpayer? A standard registration for the regular businesses exceeding the threshold limit. There is a threshold limit. In some states, it is 20 lakhs. In some states, it is 40 lakhs. So in some categories, it is 1.5 crores. So all these things. So depending on those threshold limits, once you are exceeding those threshold limits and all, then you have to take that registration. So the thresholds are differing from state to state and from time to time. So there are many. So somebody is already raising a point that 50 lakhs, is there any change? Yes, there are some changes which have already happened that we are going to discuss. Okay, so that we can, but normal taxpayer is somebody who is going to conduct his business as a buy and sale or rendering some services. So he is going to that category is going to be the normal taxpayer category. Then there is a casual taxable person. It is given a temporary registration for occasional supplies without fixed premises. So you are going into some other state just for a seasonal business. You have got a seasonal business wherein that you have got some excess commodities with you which you are not able to sell in a usual place of business. Hence, you are going to the neighboring state which is happens to be close by. Hence, you want to do so. In that case, that you don't need a regular registration wherein all registrations come along with some compliance issues also. Hence, there that you are going to be working there on a seasonal basis, hence only for a temporary period. So in such a case that you can register yourself as a casual taxable person. Then there is a special category like special economic zones. You can be a unit, you can be a developer. So why you have to have a special status? Because you all know that SEZ is considered to be place outside India. It is a deeming fiction. So because of that reason, that even the registration process also for them differs from the others, like normal taxable persons or a casual taxable person. Then there is something called composition dealer, wherein that simplified compliances for small businesses with turnover restrictions. There, when your turnover is less than 1.5 crores, then you can be a under composition, wherein that you will not be taking any input tax credits and all your sales at a subsidized rate. So at that rate that you can pay the tax, but this tax you should not be collecting from your customers. So there are some certain guidelines around it. So when you opt for a composition scheme, then you have to specify what are the commodities that you will be dealing with, and there are some restrictions that some players who deal with certain commodities are not supposed to register themselves as a under the composition scheme. So there are some guidelines around it which we will be seeing. Then there is something called input service distributor. For entities distributing the input tax credit to multiple locations, when a multi-locational unit is there, then it becomes difficult for them unless they have got a input service distributor registration to transfer the credits to the various locations. So in such a scenario that you require this particular thing, that the input service distributor kind of a registration. Then there is something called TCS TDS entities. There are some entities which are required to collect the tax at source or deduct the tax at source. So for all those such kind of entities like government and all that, and e-commerce portals, so there are some entities which will be dealing with the tax collection at source or tax reduction at source. For such kind of a people, there is a separate category that the registration has to be done under that particular category. So these many kinds of registrations are available. So how to go about the whole issue? Let us see in the next slide. So the procedure for registration, if you go to the registration portal in the GSTN, then there will be two parts, part A and part B. In the part A, you have to start with initiate new registration, and then you have to choose the taxpayer from the drop down menu. So who are the different kinds of taxpayers which we have discussed in the previous slide? Normal taxable person, composition scheme, or TDS TCS or ISD, all these things will be there. Hence, so you have to select under which category you want to fall in. Then you have got the submit one time password sent separately to your email and mobile. See, this is very important that nowadays that mobile and email are your alter ego. So consistently you need to maintain your mobile number as well as a one active email ID. So on that only you will be getting all this kind of OTPs and all those verification codes and all that. So if you are going to change it, then it becomes difficult for you to again get all this. Hence, you have to be very careful in maintaining it. One mobile number and one mail ID you have to supply so that the verification can happen. Then you will have a temporary registration number is generated to proceed to part B. Next slide, please. Yeah. So in the part B, you got several things that this login access via the temporary registration number, which is going to be valid only for 15 days. After that, the TRN is going to be in become inactive by the system. So you have to select the trade name. You can have 9 additional names also. Then the constitution validated against the CBDT PAN data. So how the company is constituted, whether it is a proprietorship concern, company or partnership or LLP, all these categories that you should be knowing. Then the management, at least two promoters and partners should be there. So one is a registered person, the second one is a authorized signatory. So this at least two persons details are required for taking the registration. And if there are any directors, then it is mandatory that you have to provide the directors identification number, so DIN number, which is issued by the Ministry of Company Affairs to all the directors. Hence this DIN number is going to be mandatory, and that is mandatory in the case of a public limited or a private limited company. So those numbers should be kept ready. Then normal tax payers, the liability is effective from the date it arises if applied within 30 days. So within 30 days of starting your business operations, you have to take the registration. So that is under the normal taxable person category. There can be delayed applications. Then effective date becomes the date of grant of registration only. And there will be a kind of voluntary registration where the date of liability field is disabled, and then there is a casual taxable person, date of liability is auto filled, because once you submit the application, the governmental authorities are going to decide from which date to which date your casual taxable person status is going to be active. After that, it automatically gets disabled unless it is extended for reasons, convincing reasons to the authorities on your application. So these are the kind of timelines and rules that you have to follow. But you have to keep in mind that these many details are required for you to submit in order to get a registration. Next slide, please. Power, next slide, please. Yeah. Then after receiving your TR, you must complete the Part B within 15 days. The comprehensive section captures the essential business details and determines your GST compliance obligations. So business identification. Provide up to 9 additional trade names. Select your constitution of the business from the drop-down menu, and it gets validated against the CBDT records linked to your PAN. And then registration timing that we have discussed already, and the voluntary registration. So businesses registering voluntarily below the threshold have different effective dates. So all that we have discussed in the previous slide also. Casual taxable persons must apply at least 5 days before commencing business operations in any taxable territory. So these are the important things one needs to keep it in mind while applying for the registration, because at the time of registration, if you are stuck with any, then you can restart the whole process. That's not a problem. But that will delay the whole entire process. So by the time that you got the TRN, if you are not in a position to complete this part B within 15 days, then again you have to generate another TRN. That becomes more and more complicated. Okay, then we'll go to the next slide. I think it is time for Pawan to launch a poll.
It's a poll time, audience. So I will quickly launch poll. I have pasted a link in the chat box. It's a poll happening in our LinkedIn page. You can click on the link and you will be directed to the poll. You can participate in the poll, guys. Just click the link in the chat box and you will be directed to the poll. Why is GST registration is considered mandatory under the law? To increase GST, to increase tax rates, to claim benefits and compliance, to avoid filing returns, only for large companies. Click the link in the chat box and you will be directed to the poll that is happening in our LinkedIn, guys. Also, you can follow our LinkedIn page, Flowtax. to more updates on our webinar or any event that we are creating. We will be updating every event that we are considering, uh, events that we are conducting every month, and all the trends, all the information leads, everything related to the GST ecosystem will be posted in the Flowtax page. Please follow our LinkedIn page, Flowtax, so that you will be completely updated with all the GST related updates, the trends happening in GST ecosystem, how tax is getting evolved, any news updates, everything related will be posted there. And most importantly, our webinar, people who are following our LinkedIn page will have exclusive access for our webinars also. Okay, I can see good number of participation over here. We'll be keeping the poll for another 1 minute, guys. Click the link in a chat box and you will be directed to the poll directly. And make sure to follow our LinkedIn page so that you will be updated with our any updates related to GST ecosystem or any trends, everything. Over to you, sir.
Yeah. So now there are some special category of registrations like casual taxable person. A casual taxable person occasionally undertakes transactions involving supply of goods or services in a taxable territory where they have no fixed place of business. This category requires special registration procedure. So exercise this option, enter the estimated turnover in the net tax liability, create the challan. Upon challan creation, provisional GSTN is generated, enabling the advance deposit of tax. Electronic acknowledgement is issued only after the amount is credited. See, a casual taxable person has to upfront deposit the tax liability, estimated tax liability. So this is what is the difference between a normal taxable person and a casual taxable person. So why it is required is because that person is going to be a fly-by-wire kind of an operator, wherein that he may not be having a fixed place of business, and a seasonal business he will be doing it and immediately he will be moving away. That is the reason government wants to secure their tax revenue. Hence what they are doing at the time of registration itself, you have to tell, you have to approximately disclose what is going to be your liability, tax liability, what is going to be your turnover and the tax liability, and based on that tax liability, you need to pay the tax upfront, and after that you have to conduct your business, and whatever the tax is there, that gets knocked off against the payment that you have already made, and if anything remains in the end due to you, that is going to get refunded at the time of closure of your registration. But something is to be payable, then the payment option also will be there. So that you can pay and close it off. There will not be any kind of a returns which you will be required to pay under the casual taxable person. The complaint burden is less. Hence, there is no restriction on the business and commerce. That is what is the intention behind this particular legislation, that why the casual taxable person is something which was enabled. So that is the purpose of it. Next slide, please. See, whatever queries you have, we request you to kindly post them in the Q&A box, so that the chat box is kept only for the normal replies, so that we can consolidatedly one after the other we can go through. Of course, I will check even the chat box also, but it is better. And then critical registration details and requirements. The reason for registration, that you have to select why you want to take a registration. Is it that you are crossing the threshold limit? Because as I told you that 20 lakhs, 40 lakhs, or the 1.5 crores, or whatever is the threshold limits are there, depending on the state and depending on the commodity that you are dealing, and all these factors, that when you are supposed to take a registration, is it the case that you are crossing the threshold, that you have to decide? And if that is the reason for taking a registration, then that reason has to be selected from the drop down menu. Then there are interstate supplies. If somebody is indulging in interstate supply, then registration becomes compulsory, even if your turnover is not crossing the threshold limit. See, when you are doing the intra-state supply, if you are within the threshold, then you need not take any registration. But when you are crossing the threshold, or that when you are dealing in interstate supplies, that is between two states, when you are doing any kind of a supplies and all, then irrespective of your turnover, you are supposed to take a registration. So, if somebody is indulging in interstate supplies, irrespective of his turnover, he has to take a registration. So, that will be the reason. And liability to pay. Sometimes it so happens that you do not know that you have got a liability to pay GST, but you have done a transaction. It can be a one-off transaction, but there is a liability which arises because of many reasons. So, if one of the reasons is that you have to pay the GST, then invariably you need to have a registration. So, liability to pay. Then, transfer or succession of the business. If somebody is transferring his business, the father is running the business and suddenly son steps into his shoes. So, there is a succession which is happening. In all such cases, death of the proprietor. Sometimes a proprietorship firm is there, then he suddenly passes away, so the next successor has to step in all such cases. Then there can be demergers. A company is there, but the company is going to split into two. Then one of the entities can keep the older registration, but the split entity has to take a new registration. Hence, at that time also, a registration is required. Then there can be change in the constitution. The company is dealing in one particular line of business, suddenly that they have changed the constitution, like a proprietorship firm has converted into a partnership firm has become an LLP, or a company is a private limited company, suddenly becomes a public limited company. In all such cases, that you have to take a fresh registration. There can be amalgamations, there can be mergers, means two companies are merging into one, then one of the registrations only will be there, the second one has to be surrendered, or in some cases merging entity will go for a fresh registration also. So it all depends on the needs of the business. So depending on the needs of the business, the government has given the flexibility that you can seek a registration. Then e-commerce operators activities. There are some activities which are under the e-commerce purview. So in all such cases, even you may be a e-commerce operator, or that you may be somebody who is supplying your goods or services using an e-commerce portal. So in all such cases, no, that you need a registration. Then there are registrations which are done on a voluntary basis. Sometimes it so happens that on voluntary basis you may have to take a registration, or there is a need for the government authorities to issue a registration in order to fix up some liability on you, or in order to conduct the further proceedings, a registration is required. In such cases also, the government authorities sumoto can register you. So that kind of a situation is also there. Like I told you, that input service distributor kind of a registration, special economic zones operations, warehouses, etc., etc. There are so many varieties that some of these are there in the drop down menu. If you are not finding your type in any of those categories specified specifically, then you can certainly choose the others category. Then on the composition scheme, as I told you in the past, that there are some restrictions that those who are dealing in ice cream, edible ice, containing cocoa, palm masala, or tobacco products, and manufactured tobacco substitutes. These people are not eligible for going under the composition. And as I told you, the directors deed is a mandatory thing, and the promoters and partners, at least two people are required. So these are the critical registration requirements. One needs to keep it in mind, and you should know what kind of a business you are doing, and in order to select the appropriate appropriate item in the drop down menu. Otherwise, what happens that all your submissions may go wrong and your registration is likely to be denied. So let us not go into such a situation. Apply yourself, understand your business, select appropriate options only from the drop down menus, so that it is going to be a smooth process for you. Next slide, please. So authorized signatories, up to 10% authorized signatories can be added under the authorized signatory tab, providing flexibility in the business representation and operations. When a multi locational units or multiple people are using the GSTA portals and all, at least 10 authorized signatories can be added in the system, which is a very good facility, particularly big companies who are having a separate supply chain management and a separate team for taking care of the taxes, and then there are separate teams for procurement, all these things. In all such cases, different authorized signatories are required. So in order to be flexible to cater to their requirement, the GSTN portal allows 10 authorized signatories to be added. And the nature of business also, that you have to declare your business activities like bonded warehouse. Is it a factory manufacturing unit, or is it in the leasing business, retail, or works contract, 100% EOU, EHTP, STPI, import office or sales office, or warehouse or depot, and export oriented unit, or recipient of only goods and services, like that. One needs to declare what kind of business nature of business they are into. And then there is a geographical verification also. There is an app called Map My India. So the Map My India integration can automatically fetch the longitude and the latitude of your registered premises, ensuring accuracy in the location data. So that is also required. So geo tagging is what they call it. So the geographical verification is also a must. Then in some cases, there will be a field verification also, in special cases only. Post registration field visit may be conducted by the registering authority to ensure the correctness of the submitted particulars. So sometimes it may happen. It is not that it is a must. Of course, in the 55th GST Council meeting, which happened recently, that the government has given a lot of flexibility. Hence, the registration is going to be a very quick process. But in all those cases which are identified for field visit, the officers will conduct the field visit in physical form. Next slide, please. So Sumoto registration is also one of the things that we have discussed in the earlier slides. When a person is liable for a GST registration, fails to obtain it, tax officials in enforcement wings can initiate Sumoto registration. Officials in the registration enforcement role can create temporary registration to deposit amounts collected from unregistered persons, especially during enforcement proceedings. What happens when you are transacting some goods in a vehicle, and the vehicle was caught en route, wherein that they did not carry any kind of an EVA bill? Then the authorities in that particular state, since the SSC doesn't have any kind of a registration, but he is still liable to pay taxes, because in the absence of an EVA bill, you are not supposed to move the goods, but you are transacting the goods without a EVA bill. Hence, they are going to levy some penalties on you after the proceedings. So, in all such cases, the authorities sumoto issue a temporary registration for you. So, that temporary registration, there is a structure for it. The first two digits indicate the state code corresponding to the location of the unregistered taxpayer. Next 8 digits include the serial number starting from 1 for each financial year. And then the next 2 digits represent the financial year also. And the last 3 digits include the alphabets TMP, indicating temporary status of the registration. That's how the Sumoto registration looks like. The taxpayer must apply for fresh registration within 90 days from the grant of temporary ID, or within 30 days from the issuance of order upholding the liability to register against any appeal filed. During fresh registration, applicant must mention the temporary ID. The way that you do a TRN for Part B filling of the registration process. In the case of a Sumoto registration, whatever is the temporary ID that is given, that will be the trigger for you to normalize your registration in that particular state if need be. But if there is no need, then the Sumoto registration need not be invariably converted into a regular registration. So depending on the needs, that kind of flexibility is also given in the portal. But one needs to understand what is their status, what is their requirement, what is the kind of a business that they do, and how that they have to position themselves in order that the application and the issuance process will be a smooth without any kind of a hurdles. Next slide, please. So I think again it is time for Pawan.
So poll time, audience. I will be launching a poll directly onto our screen. The poll is on your screen, guys. Casual taxable person refers to a person who has permanent business location, occasionally supplies goods and services without fixed place of business, works only online, supplies only services. Put your answers on the chat, the box, guys. Also, I want to mention few things about the Q&A. If you have any questions, audience, you can type in the Q&A box that we are providing. We will pick up all the questions from you at the end of the webinar. We have a dedicated Q&A session. We have allocated almost 10 to 20 minutes for the Q&A. We can discuss everything in detail. If you have any questions in between webinar also, you can just type in a chat box or you can type in a Q&A box so that we will pick up. If the question is very broad and you want to explain the question, you can raise the hand at the end of the webinar so that we will enable your mic to directly explain your question. Okay, we can see good number of correct answers. Yes, absolutely right. The second option is the correct answer. Occasionally supplies goods and services without fixed place of business.
I think only 50% of the participants are active. Rest of the people are just whiling away. That should not have been the situation because the quiz is not going to determine anything or not issuing any certificates. If your active participation is always welcome because it motivates us also to come out with new things in the future.
Also, audience, I will launch another poll. This is just to take your opinion on that on the next webinar topic. Since everyone is typing in the chat box, I just want to know which topic is more interesting to you. I have just created a poll now. You can put your opinions, which topic. If you have any other topics, you can put in a survey form at the end of the webinar. We will have a survey form at the end of the webinar. Okay. More SEZ. We will proceed to our next slide in another 1 minute. Please put your opinions on the next webinar topic, audience.
SEZ means a special economic zone. It is a special category of a unit which is it is a 100% export oriented unit, but it enjoys much more benefits from the government as far as the clearances and other processes are concerned. So there are sector specific SEZs or product specific SEZs. There are many kinds of SEZs in India. So that is a special economic zone wherein that activities happen smoothly. So somebody who is not familiar with SEZ, then maybe the next session is going to be very good.
Thank you, sir.
I think majority of the people are interested in SEZ, but what exactly the SEZ you want to know, how to register an SEZ or how to run an SEZ, because there are many complications in the SEZ running. So it depends on the products and the industry and all that. So I don't mind taking SEZ, but it is better that if somebody gives their views also what exactly that they want from this session in the SEZ. I can cover all those. But over a period of time that we'll see. Pawan, you can work out that what exactly the people's mind is, that accordingly we can go.
Yes, sir. And
Yeah.
audience, in the survey form, you can put exactly what you are looking for while
Because
filling the
only
form.
the SEZ registration and exit is a big topic. Registration is one topic and exit is another. But running the SEZ rules and procedures, that is a very big topic. It has to be segregated into some 3-4 sessions and we can cover it.
Yes, right. So audience, you can mention all the agenda points. It can be you can be contributed to agenda of the next webinar also in a survey form. Over to you, sir.
Yeah. So now that we have taken a registration under different conditions like the business models I told you and your setup and all that, depending on all those permutations and combinations that you have taken a registration. Now that you have decided that you don't want to continue with the registration, what is to be done? So first we are dealing with the temporary registration number. You have to complete this within 15 days in order to get yourself registered. So what can be the grounds for sumo motu cancellation? Non-filing of return for 6 continuous months, except for composition tax payers, because the composition tax payers are going to file their returns once in a quarter. Supplying goods or services without invoice to evade the tax, issuing invoices without supply leading to wrongful ITC availment, collecting tax but failing to deposit for over 3 months, non-payment of tax interest penalty for over 3 months, no longer liable to deduct or collect tax at source, TDS, TCS kind of a thing. GST practitioner found guilty of misconduct, composition person not filing returns for 3 consecutive tax periods, registration obtained through fraud or suppression of facts. These are the grounds for suo motu cancellation. The government authorities need not give you any kind of they will give you a notice as per the principles of natural justice, being the the authorities will observe the principles of natural justice and intimate you, but they can suo motu cancel the registration. Later, that it is going to be court proceedings and all, but whether the court will entertain your plea or not is subject to their consideration. But there can be grounds for voluntary cancellation also sometimes, that if there is a change in the constitution of the business leading to change in the PAN. That's what I told you. A partnership firm becoming proprietary or vice versa, or an LLP becoming private limited becoming a public limited. Like that, when you are changing the constitution of the business, definitely your PAN will undergo a change. And once the PAN is undergoing a change, then GST registration has to undergo a change, because GST number issued is PAN based. And ceases to be liable to pay the tax, discontinuation or closure of business, transfer of business due to amalgamation, merger, demerger, sale or lease, death of sole proprietor, registered voluntarily but did not commence business within the specified time. All these are the reasons for going in for voluntary cancellation. So what is the cancellation timelines? As per Rule 20 of the CGST rules, taxpayers must apply for cancellation within 30 days of the event warranting cancellation, and application date cannot be beyond 30 days from the triggering event, because there will be an obligation on you to file another tax return. So one should be mindful when they are going to cancel their registration, that the adhering to the fixed timelines is a must. So next slide. What is that you need to do post cancellation? Once the registration is cancelled, taxpayer will receive the intimation via SMS and email. GSTN status changes from proceeding for cancellation initiated to inactive. Taxpayers cannot file returns or upload invoices for periods after cancellation date. However, email address and mobile number can be updated until dues and refunds are cleared. Facility to file application for revocation remains available if applicable. These are also the facilities which are available. That's why I told you at the beginning of my this topic discussion, that email address and mobile number are a must throughout your process, because now we are in the digital age. So our identity is established through email and mobile number only. Next slide, please. So I think I've come to end of this presentation, wherein that I've given only a bird's eye view of what is the registration process and what is the exit process, and touching upon the various kinds of registrations that you have and what is the kind of variations that they are. But this is a bird's eye view only. I am not saying it is an exhaustive elaboration on the entire processes. So if more people are interested in knowing in detail, definitely that I will cover it in the coming sessions. Now I am taking up the questions that are posted in the chat box first. After that, I will go specifically into the Q&A. In the chat box, I could see explain changes that took place in the GST recently. So for that, already Pawan has given you the hint that you go to the WebSol portal wherein that they have given the links for my previous sessions, wherein that from time to time, whenever the GST council meetings have happened, we have covered in depth that what are the council's decisions and how they are impacting the various businesses and all that. So that one can go and check there. And second thing is that somebody is asking that place of supply rules. This is an exhaustive session that we have taken on the place of supply rules. So somebody can refer to that. RCM, tour and travel and transportation. This aspect has also been covered in one of the sessions, which is titled reverse charge mechanism only, wherein that exhaustively that we have touched upon. But any particular doubt, if somebody is having, definitely that I will take it up. But a complete session on RCM, we have already done, I think, twice, that you can check that. How to file GST registration in this video. In this video, you cannot, but there is a video and options are there that you may refer to. And regarding the rules for DTA and other things that I will, when I take up these sessions on the SEZ and EOU, definitely that I am going to go in detail and I will be detailing all those things to you. GST registration for DTA, SEZ, EOU. As far as DTA and EOU are concerned, it is just like a normal taxpayer only. But SEZ, yes, slightly in the slides that you will get different kinds of menus that you can go through. Somebody is having any kind of a problem, then definitely that specific issue we can discuss, not a problem. SEZ part. When we have one legal entity which acts as a co-developer and also unit, do we require to have a separate GST registration for co-developer also? The answer is yes. You need to have a separate registration. Each developer, co-developer, and unit, though it is the same legal entity, but they need to have different registrations because the eligibilities and all those things differ. Hence, you need to have different registrations. IGCR computation for QPR, APR for EBU. Is there any application available? As such, there is no application, sir. But there are one very good GST reconciliation packages which also cater to this particular requirement. So you can just check that. I run a small scale business and I purchase goods from other states. Do I need to take a GST number? See, when you are simply purchasing, there is no requirement. But when you want to sell those goods, and if the sale is happening again between two states, then certainly you have to take a registration irrespective of your turnover. But if you are dealing with those goods in that particular state, say for example, you are buying goods from Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu, but you are selling only in Karnataka, then threshold applies. Depending on the threshold, you can select. But if your threshold limit is within 1.5 crores, you can certainly go even for composition also. Can you explain US taxation from 1120? See, sir, we are discussing only on GST. So I am not covering the US taxation in any of my sessions. Not with anybody because I am a specialist in indirect taxes in India. Can you explain RCM applicable? Yeah, this I have already told. Uh, Technical difference between SEZ and deemed export. See, what is a deemed concept is only for a limited purpose, a fiction gets created. See, SEZ is well within India. It's not a foreign territory. But there is a deeming fiction which is created that SEZ is a foreign territory. Though the SEZ is next door to you, but they deem it as a foreign territory. So any supply to SEZ is deemed as a deemed export, and anything that you are getting from SEZ is considered to be deemed import. So this is what is a deemed fiction. So what is a deemed export? This is exactly a deemed export only, but the deeming fiction that normally people use it for 100% EOUs also, because 100% EOUs are supposed to indulge only in exports. They are not supposed to indulge in the domestic trade. But of course, the flexibility has been given considering the world economic scenario. that domestic sales are also permissible, subject to restrictions and all that. So for that reason, so when you are supplying, then there is a deemed fiction that when you are supplying to 100% EOU or SEZ, that in the foreign trade policy, that they are considered to be export, because that ultimately your item is going to be put to use by those units in order to make their outward supplies, which are predominantly exports. I'm not saying that everything is an export, but predominantly export. So, in order to extend certain benefits to you, because you are indirectly helping in the export revenue that is coming to India, that this deeming fiction has been created. So, that is what is the difference. Special economic zones, they do physical exports, but 100% EOU, when a DTA gives any supplies, it is called as a deemed export. STP, the Software Technology Parks of India, that is a separate scheme meant only for the IT sector. So when we are taking up EOUs, definitely that I think that I will be taking that also. See, they say up to 20 lakhs, no GST. What exactly is that? Up to 20 lakhs, there is no GST, means if your entire turnover in a year is not exceeding 20 lakhs, then there is no GST, there is no requirement for you to take a registration. But in the month of January, in a financial year, the financial year in India starts from April to March 31st. Hence, in a financial year, when you are conducting your business, say in the month of January, you have already hit 19 lakhs. So, in the next 3 months, there is a likelihood that your turnover may cross 20 lakhs limit. So, if such is the case, then it is better that you go for a registration. That is where I told, crossing the threshold. Under that category, you have to opt for a registration. So that is what is the thing there. In transportation cases, we book the bill under RCM and then make the payment to the vendor. How should we book the bill in the case of tours and travels? So this we have discussed, hence I am not taking up again. After cancellation of the GST registration process under C-SPAN, after filing GST return, what is the next? See, that the authorities have to accept your GST return and formally close down, and then if your registration has become inactive in the portal, then I think that is the end of it. Taking GST under 14A introduced recently, and whether export turnover to be considered for threshold limit. If you are doing an exports, then yes, I think that you have to take a registration, because in export you are entitled for certain benefits. So when you want to seek those benefits like refund and all, irrespective of your threshold, it is advisable that if you are into export, then you take a registration, because by taking a registration, you will be entitled to all the benefits. If you do not have any registration and suddenly you think of taking benefits like refund and all, then the authorities are not going to allow you. And moreover, for you to execute the letter of undertaking, you need to be a registered person. So if somebody is indulging in exports, definitely that you need to take a registration. The way interstate supply, export is also a kind of an interstate supply. Hence, in an interstate supply, irrespective of the threshold, one must take a registration. Hence, in this case also, registration is a must. Is it a must to update the reimbursement invoice in GST? What is reimbursement invoice? I am not able to understand, sir. If somebody is paying you for the expenses incurred at your end, then what for you have incurred the expenditure is the first thing that somebody needs to look into. And if it is on that expense, if you have taken a credit and somebody is reimbursing it, then you are supposed to reverse your credit. So there are a lot many issues relating to the reimbursement. So one needs to be very careful. So whether it is going to be with GST or without GST, whether GST is required to be paid or not, all these aspects are to be looked into. But if it comes with a GST, then yes, answer is yes, that it has to be uploaded in the portal.
Mr. Malyadri, you can speak now. Your mic is enabled. You can unmute and speak.
Yeah.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Actually, this is a reimbursement is nothing but I received that invoice copy because of my another customers. we don't have that any profit for that invoice. Just we are paying up because of that another party to that another vendors.
No, sir. It is not such a simple thing. See, what I need the clarity is that initially you have incurred the expenditure. Later
we
you are
don't.
getting the reimbursement, right?
We are not doing that any investment, any expenses. The
Then why do
invoice.
you receive a reimbursement? Reimbursement means somebody has to incur the expenditure, which is reimbursed by somebody else.
Actually, you can think like that. So I am doing the service to my customer.
What service?
So okay. So further in for logistics, okay. So
Okay.
the logistics services we are doing on it. So
Okay.
they are I am given the end-to-end solutions. Some
Okay.
services invoices I am raised directly to that my customer. But
Okay.
customer is saying that you can do that in all activities for that because of me. You can do for that. I have that another one payment is there for that different vendor. You can pay that an amount, but the invoice is raised directly to that vendor to customer. We don't have that any invoice for that thing. Just we are paying to them, then we collecting to that in our
See, sir,
customer.
that is where that I have asked you the clarity. See, there is a concept called pure agent in the GST.
Yes, exactly. That is called as
So,
an
if you are acting as a pure agent, adhering to all those conditions, that in a pure agent is a transaction between three entities. There is a service provider, there is an actual service recipient, and there is somebody who is acting as a pure agent who is there only to just make the payment initially. So, if the invoice is depicting all the three names, and your status as a pure agent is clearly identifiable from the invoice and also the agreement that you have, then in such a case, when you receive the money, whatever is that you have paid to the vendor on behalf of your customer, on which the customer has received the services, and then the customer is going to reimburse you, then on such reimbursement, there will not be any GST. And there is no requirement for you to go through the GST portal, because there that you have fulfilled all the conditions of the pure agent under GST. Hence, this transaction is treated when you receive the reimbursement. That particular transaction is considered to be a pure transaction in money. It is out of GST purview. There will be no GST charged on it. So it is simple commercial note which will be received by you. So it need not be uploaded in the GST portal. Clear?
So, as per your meaning, I no need to date
There
for
is
the
no GST charged on it.
Yes.
See,
But
for
my
example,
question here,
I will clarify it further. 100 plus 18, 118, one service provider has raised an invoice on your customer X. But in the
Yes.
invoice, it is identified that Malyadri sir is the person who is going to make the payment. Right? So you have paid him 118 rupees on behalf of your customer, and the customer has received the invoice and the services also, and 18 rupees credit he can directly take, because that he is having the invoice in his hands and the receipt of service. But the only condition that he has to fulfill another one is within 6 months he has to pay you the 118 rupees reimbursement. So when he is paying you 118 rupees reimbursement, no, you will be giving him a commercial debit note to him, which he is going to make good of, and then you will receive the 118 rupees as a money, but there is no tax in it. There is a tax in it, 100 plus 18, but that is called as a tax when the service provider is giving the invoice to the service recipient. You being the middleman who is just facilitating the payment immediately, that so this 18 rupees what you receive is also a expense for you which he is reimbursing. So there is no GST coming into the picture here. Clear, sir?
Yeah, I'm clear, but another one questions for the same
Yeah,
related
please.
to here. So actually, that is I no need to file for that my reimbursement charges to the GST. That is I understood.
Yeah.
But as per the comparison statement between that my income tax with that GST,
Right.
but the amount is mismatched. That time I'll
No,
be
there is
getting
no
the
mismatch, because see, 118 is the expenditure you will show in your books. You will not split into 118, because for you it is a lump sum amount which you have paid. what is the GST, what is the original cost of the product and all that is not your botheration. It is when your customer is recording this invoice in his books, he has to record it as 100 for the supply and 18 the tax thereon, and 118 is what is reimbursed to you because that you have paid the payment upfront, later that you are receiving. So he will be knocking off his entries like that. But in your books of accounts, you will be making only two entries. One, 118 you have paid at the time of making the payment, and 118 you have received at the time of reimbursement that you have received from your customer. So it is completely out of GST. So you are not splitting this amount.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Got it?
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Right, sir. Thank you. Now I think that I have completed the chat box. Now that I am opening this Q&A. So already that I think that I have answered the first question, run a small scale business, purchase goods from other states and all that I have answered. If the legal entity is the same, it acts as both developer and unit, I think that this also that I have answered it. So next is, can you explain RCM? I think that I have answered this also. Will GST will be exempt for intermediary? Intermediary, sir, if you are fitting into the intermediary category, the place of supply rules were already amended post the recent GST council meeting, and the government has already clarified this aspect. So if you are fulfilling it too, then the default rule now applies even for the intermediary also. So it is going to be the place of receipt. Hence, this is already been clarified by the government. How to handle the reimbursements? I think that I have answered it. I don't see any more questions, but there are some people who have raised their hands. I think,
Anil, you can unmute
yeah,
yourself and talk.
yes.
Sir, for intermediary, it is not yet been notified, right? I mean, like I have
It is
been
already, sir. Already
told that it
the
will be passed in the budget and then it will be applicable from the effective date.
no. They have already amended with the date. Because it is a clarificatory, it has got a retrospective implication. Court judgments have also come, so it is in line with that.
Okay,
There is no waiting time for the intermediary to take effect.
okay.
It is already in effect.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, please. Any other persons?
Hi,
Mr.
sir. My
Siddharth,
name
you
is.
can.
Yeah, please.
Sir, in transport cases, basically we have booked the bill under RCM, right? And pay the GST amount from our end. But how should we book the bill in the cases of tour and travel, like cost of the IGST or applicable on RCM? So basically, I'm confused.
Yeah, but are you the service provider or a recipient first?
Yeah, most of the people is tour and travel registered, and most of the people in a partnership firm. So different categories.
No. What is your status? You are a service provider or a service recipient?
Actually, sir, I'm working in an organization. So basically, most of the bills come from like partnership and tour and travels.
The partners are undertaking tours
Yeah,
and they are giving you the bills.
yeah.
So, what is the narration in the bill?
Sir, basically, it's like we have a transport company.
Hmm.
So someone is share is like a 4 to 5 vehicles tours in invoice and mention the IGST is a 5% in a
No, that's
transport
right,
case.
sir. What I'm saying is that
Mm-hmm.
when you are receiving such a bill, what is that bill narration? Because the thing is, the tours and travels cater to many things. Like they will arrange for your hotel stay, they will arrange for your food, they will arrange for the local conveyance, all that and all. So, are you going to get a consolidated bill for all these activities, or you are going to get
Got
a
it, sir.
bill for separate items from the tours and travels?
Sir,
Why I
different
am
cases.
going to such a depth,
Yeah.
I'll tell you, sir.
Okay.
Food
Mm-hmm.
consumption is for personal consumption.
Okay.
So people, the departmental authorities will start picking up all these kind of things, and they say that when somebody had consumed the food, how that expense can be written on the company's name. So if it is for the business purpose and you have got a sound logic that your partner has traveled on a business and then he
Okay.
had consumed the food over there and that's how it has come. But the food bill ideally should come from the hotel. But if the tours and travels guy has arranged it, then we need to see his agreement whether this is going to be a consolidated bill or that he is going to do it item wise. If item wise is there, then there cannot be a 5% tax en masse on all the items.
Okay, sir. If in consolidated bill, vendor is
Yeah, so
providers.
the agreement
Mhm.
is that he will undertake then it is not 5% taxable. I think it is 18%. No, sir.
Yeah.
Consolidation, I think it comes under 18%. If food alone is 5%, and hotel accommodation, if it is 7,500 and above room, then it is 18%, and below it is 5%. No.
Yeah.
So in a consolidation, I don't think that it is coming under 5%. You please check.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Good.
So depending on that and subject to rule 17.5, the section 17.5, there are restrictions. What is personal consumption? What is official? So somebody can justify that they are going to be for business purposes only, then certainly that you can take a credit. But see, one thing is there. If you have paid anything under RCM, then based on your payment, you are entitled for credit.
Mr. Raman, you can ask your question. You can unmute yourself and ask the question. Yes, Raman.
So, Raman sir, we are talking about this intermediary. This is what that I am going to, I am clarifying it to you. See, several courts have already taken cognizance and then they have given enough relief on this. It is only a procedural thing that the IGST Act amendment has to happen, which is going to be taking place in the ensuing budget, but it is going to be a clarificatory thing. So it applies for the past periods also. So nowadays you might have seen the notifications what they say that this amendment has got a retrospective effect, but all the taxes that are paid or all the refunds that were granted in the past are not going to be touched, but whatever is pending or whatever is going to happen in the future are going to be impacted by this. So by using those kind of a phraseology, the government is going to protect their interest.
Understood, sir. Now I mean that September onwards we have to pay RCM, sir.
No, if you are coming under the intermediary, then there is no
No, I
RCM
mean, sir,
that's
I mean importing of the intermediary service.
you are importing.
Intermediary service.
You are importing intermediary services means that the other person is giving you some
Outs-
intermediary services. Can you be more specific
Yes.
about what is the nature of service that you are receiving?
We'll get a marketing supporting service from the abroad.
Yeah, so the agent is there abroad and he is rendering you marketing support services.
Correct.
So it is a place of consumption, no, where the services are happening. So it is import of service for you. You have to pay under RCM.
Correct, sir.
I
But
thought
now
that it is the other way around that you are the intermediary.
understood. But under the assumption, we are waiting for amendment of the IGST Act. No,
No,
sir.
no, no,
Actually,
no, sir. Don't burn your fingers, sir. This is going to be a clarificatory amendment. Then the authorities are going to come back strong on you, saying that since you have already received this is treated as an import of service, hence you have to pay RCM. I was under the impression that you are the intermediary, but
no,
you
no.
are receiving the services of an intermediary.
Correct, sir.
Because now the place of supply provisions have changed for the intermediary, which is going to be clarificatory in nature. Even if the law is going to be amended with a prospective date, for the past periods, if you don't pay it, then they are going to come back on you. See, you are not going to lose anything in this. If you pay, then you can take credit. If you
I got it,
don't
sir.
pay, then it is going to be a liability.
Understood, sir. Understood. Thank you,
So
sir.
that is the reason I'm telling you to be on the safer side. It is better that you start paying even for the past periods also, because not much of an interest loss will be there for you. But if you
Yes, sir.
wait for the amendment to take place and then the presidential assent, which is coming very fast nowadays, but even then also that there is going to be a considerable delay.
Understood, sir. Thank you,
It is
sir.
going to be a clarificatory, sir. I'm telling you. Any other questions, sir, from any other participants? There is
I think
nothing from my end. I think that I have concluded everything. So next time that I expect that if it is going to be SEZ or anything, that if you
Yes, sir.
can tell us that entire procedure of SEZ is to be explained and all, maybe that I will split the sessions some 2-3 and then I will complete the whole thing.
yes, Raman.
Sir, I have one more question, sir.
Yeah, please.
Sir, SEZ units, now NSDL, they have to be registered mandatory, sir, or it is not required? NSDL, SEZ online, they have started recently.
No,
So
no,
where
no.
users can
See.
able to vote
SEZ
DTI.
online is already there in the past also.
Correct,
Now
sir.
what they have done, they have integrated the SEZ online with the ICE gate.
Correct.
That is the
Okay.
only change that they have done. SEZ online was there in the past also.
No, what is that query, sir? Actually, the customers who are procuring the material,
Huh.
they very much old 2006 onwards. They registered manual registration of the SEZ development unit, sir.
Okay.
Are they required to be mandated to getting registered themselves in SEZ online, or it is not required, sir? Mandatory is there, sir, because some few customers saying that
Huh.
they are not required. Only data DTA procurement certificate can be able to be downloadable, but LOE is not required to be registered in the online. Is they say.
First of all, you identify yourself. Are you an SEZ unit, or
No,
that
we are
you are
receiving.
having
We are
SEZ
exporting.
customers with you?
We have the customers with us, sir. We are exporting.
You are supplying to the SEZ.
Correct, sir.
Okay. If you are supplying to an SEZ, previously when you are making supplies to the SEZ, it is going to be inward to the SEZ, right? DTA
Correct, sir.
procurement for them.
Correct, sir.
They used to issue the DTA procurement certificates and all that from the SEZ online portal.
Correct, sir.
So now that the SEZ online portal is no more in existence. It is IceGate only.
Oh, fine, sir. I'll check it, sir. Okay.
They have migrated to IceGate. Now SEZ online is no more functional.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. And thank you so much, audience, for all your questions. It was a very insightful session and good interactive session with you all. So I would like to conclude this webinar with saying few things. All the entire webinar recording will be recorded and it will be posted in the YouTube channel that you can check out with the name of WebSol. And I will also be personally sharing you over the mail with the webinar recording and the presentation deck that we have just presented. And at the end of the webinar, once we conclude the webinar, you will receive a survey form on your screens. You can fill there. How is the webinar, anything to improve? And you can also give the improvements or any suggestions for our next webinar as we discussed. You can give particularly what you are expecting from SEZ, the Special Economic Zones registration type. You can mention based on that, we can shape our agenda for our next webinar. So hope all the audience who joined this webinar will also attend our next upcoming webinars. Make sure to follow our Flotex page for all the updates. We will be having webinars, blogs, we'll be posting blogs, we'll be posting many details or information about GST. It's a very insightful page that we are operating. So follow us on LinkedIn with the name of Flotex and WebSol. We have two pages. One is WebSol, another one is Flotex. You can follow us on LinkedIn. We will be more active in LinkedIn. If you want to directly connect with the speaker for any advice, you can reach out to me and I will connect with the sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thanks to all.
Thank you.